Hello scrappers and planet lovers, Tin Man here with another video. So today is another video in my mini series entitled Large Electronics and Appliances versus Small Vehicles 3-Minute Challenge. I've had a lot of viewers comment on my channel that they've had to in the past unfortunately pass up on a lot of large ticket items like this water tank, dishwashers, washing machines, ovens, dryers, because they are not able to fit them into their vehicle and bring them home to further scrap. So what I want to do today in 3 minutes is show you the goodies that I could pull off of here in that time to hopefully help you be able to drive away with some scrap value. Water tanks like this is very large. This weighs over 100 pounds and I would not be able to get it into my car. So definitely that is not an option. And unfortunately, because these are a great source of scrap, so gonna address that in 3 minutes in a second. I do also have a complete teardown of a water tank, and I will include that in my description, the link to that, so if you're interested, go check that out. Before I get to this challenge, I do also want to take this opportunity to address another question I had from a fellow scrapper, beginner scrapper, and the question was, what types of tools do I bring with me? And I do include that beginning in all of this mini-series because it is an important thing. And for me, first and foremost, safety glasses and a hammer. Hammers are a great way to be able to easily break something off, especially if it is a large item that is not scrap. You just want that little piece, a little motor you're breaking off. Easy to break through plastic for sure. Word of caution and consideration. If you are smashing things, please don't leave a mess for the garbage man or the homeowner. You know, that is definitely a courtesy thing and respect, but definitely a hammer for sure. I always have a pair of side cutters and a knife. These are great to be able to cut through hoses, especially right now, late or fall, spring, people are getting rid of hoses, so I find a lot of hose ends that have the really nice brass, so you want to make sure you cut those off, as well as any types of appliance cord, wire, easy to cut off as well if that's all you could grab. So wire side cutters, pair of pliers as well. I always have. It has a side cutter as well if I need to cut through a screw. Easy to grip. Vice grips, 2 pairs of vice grips, easy to hold on to some bolts, connect securely, be able to turn them quickly and effectively. I always have a hacksaw as well. Easy to get through a small bolt if I have to, or a copper pipe quickly and effectively. This is a smaller one, kind of cheap, but it does the trick. I can use this actually even to cut through hoses if I need to. Some type of pry bar you see here, small, but it allows me to have some leverage to pull something up. I always have a magnet. Magnets are definitely a good thing to help you identify the material. If the material is non-magnetic, it could be brass, stainless steel, good stainless steel, copper, aluminum. So you definitely want to know your material. And for me, if those are the type of items that I have, I definitely want to spend a little bit more time on them because they are higher value. This tank, as you can see, the outer shell is magnetic, and that's because this is going to be tin. This entire shell, once I take the goodies off, I can actually bring it in whole, and I'm going to get tin weight price for it. So it's about 6 to 7 cents a pound for that. So definitely if you have a large vehicle, definitely want to pick up one of these water tanks for sure. I also have a adjustable wrench, if you will. These are great to be able to get the nozzles like this, grip on there, and because of the size, it allows me some leverage at least as well to be able to easily turn it. I do have other 2 items, a small kit that has different screwdriver heads, different ratchet heads, and other components to it. So very easy to transport, definitely better than having a bag full of screwdrivers. As well, I have a L-key security set. This is like an Allen set, if you will, so it does do that purpose. But as you can see, there are holes in there, and those are meant for special types of bolts, security bolts. You will find those on microwaves and other things, very recognizable bolts because they have a little nub on them, so they are easy to remove those. Manufacturers put those on there as a safety precaution and to keep you out, so having this as well in my little arsenal definitely helps me get the job done quicker. So hopefully that answered the question. as I said, magnet, different types of, blades and side cutters for sure. So gonna start with this challenge right now. Just some of them, obviously they are different depending on where you are, different sizes. This one, as you can see, I'm 5'10". It almost comes up, to my shoulders. Once I start adding up the nozzles, which are up here, it's definitely not gonna fit into a car. But it does sometimes, the first thing I'm gonna look for are the copper tubes that come off of here, copper pipes. And I did add one of them on here just for educational views. They'd only had one of them on here. But the nice thing about these copper pipes is copper is, in the scrappers world, our copper or scrappers gold. So it continues to stay at a high price, and this is the #1 thing you're looking for. Unfortunately, I do see some people bring in copper like this in one load and expect max profit, which is not going to be the case. This piece right here, you can see, actually has some #1 copper on it, as well as #2. When it comes to copper tubing, you are not going to get Bear Bright price. Bear Bright only pertains to copper wire, and it has to be thicker than 16 gauge. So any piping, regardless of how shiny it is and new it looks, it's only the highest it's going to give you is #1. Because this has soldering right here, that is #2. And #2 right now is going for $3.86 a pound in London, Ontario. So what I want to do to upgrade this is I'm going to cut right here just after the soldering. The rest of this piece here is going to give me #1 copper price. And #1 right now is actually going for $4.11 a pound. So almost 30 cents more for that little piece. It does all add up for sure. This one you can see there's just a little bit of #1 there. So I'm just going to leave this on for #2 price. Here's another piece. Just has a little bit of soldering here. So if I cut that, this would be #2. The rest of this is going to be #1. Okay, and this piece I wanted to add just for educational purposes to answer another question. This, as you can see, has a really nice piece of #1, but it has a piece of brass there as well. It's coated brass. And someone asked me, if I bring this in, am I going to get copper price? And the answer is no. At a scrapyard, the rule is you can have copper on brass, but you cannot have brass on copper. So if I was to bring this in, I'm getting brass price. So you definitely want to make sure that you cut off that brass, cut off that small piece of #2, and put the rest of this in your #1. So copper tubing is definitely, or pipe is going to be the first thing I look for on this water tank. The second thing is going to be this nozzle here. This nozzle had a big stick, plastic stick here. This is obviously of no scrap value. But this pipe here is definitely worth something, so I'm just going to pull it off there. I have already loosened it, but it's just going to pull off. The nice thing is using leverage or my hammer, if it was stubborn, I could also just hit it out, loosen it. But this does unscrew. And the nice thing about this, if I bring it up to the camera, this is actually a type of brass. And I've been told by a viewer that this is actually going to be red brass. Red brass is actually the highest value of brass. You have yellow brass, which right now is going for $2.53. And the reason they said, here's a piece of yellow, if I compared the two, this, as you can see, has more of a redder look. And that's because this has a little bit more copper in it. So yellow brass right now is going for $2.53 a pound. Red brass is going for $3.50. So $1 more for that. So you definitely want to separate it. That gentleman also told me that he actually took apart 8 water heaters in that day. So definitely building up that supply and stash quickly. Unfortunately, I cannot bring this in as is and get max profit because, as you can see, there is steel there. That pipe needs to be taken out. It is heavily eroded, so I may have to cut it out. There is also, if I put a magnet to this handle here is also magnetic. There is a pin in there, so I am going to have to open that. But again, some red brass. You do also want to check this stick. These sometimes are copper. This one is plastic. I've already checked. But you definitely want to not assume, because they are definitely different manufacturers and different styles. So check this as well. Sometimes, especially if it looks heavily corroded or gunky, it's going to be copper. So some red brass there, great item there. The last thing I want to do, and I'm going to just actually put this on its side, okay, so you can see. As I said, it is heavy, 110 pounds. I want to get this control dial. Just going to move that. There is on the bottom here always going to be type of hole or type of little cover, if you will. Some of them have a cover on top of it that are going to be tin. This one, I do have to just remove some of the screws. Part of my challenge, for sure. Okay. But this is going to get this box. This box is going to be made of cast aluminum. There is definitely going to be some pipes as well on there. Okay. But if I put a magnet to it, there you go. I'm going to add the screws to my magnet. You can see this pipe is magnetic. There is a pipe here that is non-magnetic. As well, there is a smaller one that I actually put off in the front there that I'll show you in a minute that is also non-magnetic. But I want to get this box off first. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. Last screw. Okay, always take my pry bar. Okay, just going to pull that out. Okay, I'm going to pull that. This is, obviously has insulation. The insulation is non-scrappable, but this is going to be also magnetic. So this is another piece of tin. Inside of here is my heater. Okay, and I just have to actually release that bolt. After doing that, this is where my pliers come in, or vice grips. Okay, so there we go. There's a screw. I've already cut that tube. I'm also just going to cut that one again. So there. Okay, there is. Look at that. There is my heater part. Obviously, this is what's going to heat the water. If I take this up to the camera, you can see some really nice brass under there. Look at that brass. As I said, this wire here, or cord here, if I put a magnet to it, okay, this one is magnetic. This one is not magnetic. So this is either going to be stainless steel or aluminum. Easy way to check. If I take my grinder and I hit it with the grinder, if it sparks, it's going to be stainless steel. If it does not spark, it's going to be aluminum. So clean aluminum right now is going for about 55 cents a pound. If it's stainless steel, it's going for about 80 cents. I'm going to say it's aluminum, just judging by how easy it is to bend. The other one here, this is a smaller wire. Some of them will have an extra just clean #1 copper pipe or tube. This one, interesting, as you can see inside of it, there is a copper wire inside of this, goes all the way down. So I'm hoping that I could actually pull it out of here once I straighten it. If not, I may have to just bring this in as dirty copper, this part right here, because there is a small tube in there. But again, I have seen some that are just copper like this and going to go into #1. But you definitely want to get that brass off. You also want to make sure you check the burner. Easy, this one, if you put a magnet to it, easy to recognize the rust. But I have seen some burners. This is the cap on one. This actually came off of a barbecue. So same type of style, but it's just crimped on. But this is another beautiful piece of yellow brass. So you definitely want to check depending on manufacturer and age of it. Okay, but this is going to be tin. The last thing I have here is this box. Okay, and this box here, 2 ways to get this off. I've had someone say that they just put a type of screwdriver, if you will, or type of pipe inside of here. A rebar, they said. So this is something I have as well. This is actually, I think, from a freezer, but this would do the trick. If I put this in the hole there, I could maybe get a little bit of leverage. For me, easiest thing is, again, smashy. I'm going to just hit this box. It is just screwed on, so I'm just going to use my hammer here. There you go. So just use a hammer. Okay, everyone has a different method, but this box is definitely my other goodie that I want because, as you can see, there is a beautiful brass connector right there. This is plastic, so this is garbage, but beautiful brass there. The head of this is going to be cast aluminum. There is some brass fixtures on there. As you can see, there is, putting up to the camera, those screws. Those are going to need the security set. You can see the nub in the middle of that bolt there. So that will come off. So as I said, inexpensive Mastercraft. I think this cost me $6. But definitely want to get that brass out of here. Unfortunately, the rest of this drum, I'm going to have to leave. But, you know, at least getting some of these items better than nothing. Obviously, I have this now at home, but if I was to leave it, someone hopefully would pick it up, be able to divert it from the landfill, and bring it into the scrapyard for some good tin. The nice thing is, too, is you don't even have to get out the insulation. And I have actually seen some tanks that have the inner core copper. So you definitely want to check. This one I'm looking is not copper, but I have seen one or two at the scrapyard that were copper, and definitely those would be worth removing the outer shell. So you want to check that, but unfortunately the video, if you have a small vehicle, you cannot fit it in or bring it home, so you get what you get. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment down below. Thanks for the questions. Hope that helped. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Tin Man out.